Alright folks, Vitek here from Wani. With us today we have one and only Silenoz and Shagrath of Dimmu Borgir. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Thanks, good.
We had a chat last year during the DVD release, and since then this has been a highly anticipated record of this year. And May 4th, the D-Day, when this album Eonian is going to be unleashed. How does it feel finally that you have an album ready and now the waiting game starts for you guys till the release date, and obviously for fans to wait for May 4th?
Yeah, we can't wait to share this with our fans. I think it's an album that kind of sums up the whole history of the band and a lot of areas from the band's history. We're very chuffed with it ourselves, so yeah, we can't wait to hear people's reaction.
Awesome.
Yeah, the countdown. It's the real countdown has begun now until May 4th, and we feel really strongly about this new record, as everybody should do when you release a new record, but in particular this one maybe.
Totally, I totally understand. Been listening to this beast from Monday, and it's such an evil album. And all I can say is you guys have really pushed yourself a lot. I mean, it's something that's outside your zone, and yet write an album that is strong and demands respect when we look at the great discography of Dimmu Borgir. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it, in your opinion, I guess.
I think that is a very good compliment, that you recognize all the work that we have put into it. It's not done overnight, obviously, and we have been working on music for this album for many years already. It's just that we have kept a low profile on purpose too.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been able to really fully concentrate on this and make it as best as we could.
And that sounds really great, man. One thing about the album is the title, and the word Eonian, can be interpreted in many ways. And while I was listening to this album, trying to understand the whole essence, the whole vibe of the album, to me it sounds like Dimmu isn't looking back. I mean, you guys are moving forward indefinitely. It to me it feels like it captures both sides of the coin. That is the perpetual fires and also the never-ending bliss of heaven. I mean, what's more important lesson that you guys want fans to take away from this album?
Well, I think when we make a new album, we always try and challenge ourselves, and also with that, we also challenge the listener and the fan. And that can be quite daring, because we are the artist, the fan is the fan, and then we have different ways of looking at music.
Right.
As artists, it's very important for us to kind of look forward, not try to be repetitive of what you have done before, and we've never been afraid of exploring, So as you said, we move forward, into our own, carving our own territory, so to speak, or making our own path instead of following other paths.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I wonder, what were you guys smoking while writing a song like Councel of Wolves and Snakes? That's to me is pinnacle of what Dimmu can do when it comes to pushing yourselves to the extreme. I mean, it takes a lot of balls to write a song like this, having great experimentation, and also I believe it has a potential to grab some of your new fans when they listen to this song in general. I just wanted to know, what was the thought process behind this beast of a song?
It's a good example, as you said, that we're not afraid of trying new things, play around with different details. We don't work within a frame. We try to, kind of on this song specifically, we try to, it's like playing ball, going back and forth, adding elements, and it's a song that sticks out in the way that it's not really a typical Dimmu Borgir song.
Yeah.
Even though it has a lot of elements from what we're known for, but it's kind of a playful song in a way.
Yeah, it's about going out of your comfort zone. That's very important as an artist and as a musician, and when it happens naturally, that's the best way of doing it. And this song maybe in particular is a more unexpected choice from our side, but still we feel it fits really well into the album, and it's one piece of the puzzle.
Right. How long did this song take to write? Because I feel that this song is something where you guys put in a lot of, let me say, spend more time on this, because this isn't something which can immediately come out of your DNA. It's something which you've experimented a lot, and obviously there would have been a couple of rounds here and there trying to bring that whole skeleton as one unit altogether.
Absolutely, yeah. It started off with a guitar riff, which was the basic foundation to build the song further, and then we added some kind of rhythmic drums, percussion rolls on it, and then it kind of already set the standard for which direction it was going. And I think we had like maybe half the song written, and then we put it away for a little while, and then we took it back again, and then this middle part came up later.
Yeah, the middle part basically was the catalyst for finishing the song. After that, it pretty much wrote itself in a way.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of gets started. You start with a basic idea, and then you build it from there, basically, and it can go into all kinds of different directions.
Absolutely, man. And an album like this doesn't immediately grab you. I mean, it took me close to 2 to 3 rounds to actually start appreciating the beauty present in this album. It's a grower, and an album like this is something which, to me, as a music fan, as a metalhead, gives me an opportunity to find out the gems every time I listen to it. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
as fans, they're going to take their own time. They're going to take their own time to understand and appreciate the overall nature of the album. And I believe this might be a conscious decision from you guys to write an album like this, which has that the memorable factor that keeps fans come back to it and listen to it again and again.
Yeah, I guess we didn't do that intentionally, but we did take our time to make each song and each part very complete, and therefore there are also a lot of layers in our music. And just as you described, yes, I think it's kind of a grower in a way that I mean, there are other bands who make even more complex, sophisticated music than we do, but still there is just so much information to dig in that it acquires your attention to be able to enjoy it fully, so to speak.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
hopefully people will take their time to dig into this.
We still require patience from the fans, even if they've been waiting for so many years, because we require it for them to listen to the album and get under its skin.
Totally agree with that. How do you guys, what's the thought process when you have such a long gap, and there have been, maybe your own influences coming in? You love listening to different kind of music individually as musicians, and when you start writing an album like this, where you decide, okay, we got to move out of our comfort zone and write something which pushes ourselves creatively, and you guys have done it, and it took 8 years. So it's a huge time when you think about how the metal bands these days write an album, let's say 2016, and there's another album coming in 2018, and some of them sound similar, some of them have a huge difference in the direction. 8 years is a huge, is a long gap. How was it for you guys to absorb this album every time you came back into the writing session and started listening to what you had already written?
Well, for us it hasn't been. We haven't spent 8 years writing an album. Like the 3 last years we've been spending writing the album, but for us it doesn't feel like 8 years gap, because we've been quite busy behind the scenes.
True.
And we played a lot of live shows up until 2014, and we also had a little break in between, and stuff that happened in
And DVD as well. We spent a lot of time working on Finalize, so from the outside it looks like we haven't been doing much, but we've, as I said, deliberately kept a low profile too. So it's a combination of things.
Great, that's really cool. There's choir in this, there's epic orchestration in this. I also got to know that Flesh God Apocalypse's keyboardist has also had some input on this album, and obviously you have a school choir singing in the background. An effort like this is grand. I mean, I appreciate bands like Septic Flesh and Dimmu, who always move out and bring in real sounds instead of let's say computerized ones. And at the same time, when I listened to this album, to me it felt that I'm right in the center of the auditorium, and you guys are on stage playing these songs. It felt raw. It felt organic instead of, let's say, a polished effort, which might have probably taken away the whole essence of the album.
It's a very ambient feeling, especially, of course, if you listen to it on headphones. But it has this feeling, to me at least, that it grabs you and it surrounds you with all different sounds, and yeah.
This time I wanted to. We're still adding orchestral elements, but we decided to, after release the Forces of the Northern Night, this was kind of a closure.
Right.
Using a full orchestra, so this time we ended up using a lot of samplings, libraries, and keyboards to make this ourselves, and I think the result of that came out quite good, and then when we make these orchestral arrangements, we tried to combine them with other types of guitar riffs and transitions, and we're making it quite difficult for ourselves because it's actually a bit of a challenge to do all this work.
Right.
But the result came out very satisfying.
Absolutely. How, from an eye of a producer, since this is also produced by you guys and Jens has mastered and mixed it, how was it from the eyes of a producer when you look at your material and say, okay, this is how it is? I mean, were there any ideas that probably wouldn't have come if you wouldn't have looked at this album from a producer's point of view, and then had a discussion to kind of proceed further?
Well, we are our own producers because we are the ones who have the vision for where we want to take this, so, and that is a sensitive process because we have to kind of communicate with our engineer for how we want certain things to be.
Right.
And we can be really stubborn in how we want things to be, and of course also an engineer maybe have a different perspective on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But it was important to describe that we needed to be in a certain way, and it's looking back at it now, it was actually quite challenging to
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into not only writing a Dimmu song, but also you have to look at it from an objective point of view, and that's where the producer in the three of us comes out.
True.
And of course, it's a challenging part.
Absolutely. What are the touring plans? I mean, obviously you guys are playing some festivals which are already confirmed, and you might probably be heading to Europe sometime in the post-summer for let's say a full-fledged grand tour.
I would say that we probably come back to tour Europe in November, December, and we have a lot of other touring plans on the agenda as well. So there's going to be a busy year and also next year.
Nice, very nice. Both you guys, if I have to ask you, I mean, you're someone who have written really great music throughout the 90s, 2000s, and now, and it's always been something where new fans have come in and heard of Dimmu, have immediately become fans, and then there are fans who have been following you since the early days. The sound of the metal, the whole essence of the vibe has changed throughout the years, but for you personally, what would be your definition of extreme metal in 2018 as compared to, let's say, early 90s?
I think what we try and do with the band is that we the recreation of the atmosphere that we grew up with in the 80s and the 90s, we try and put that back into our own music. And for us as artists, it's hard to say what the difference really is, or if there is any difference apart from that there's tons of more bands now.
Mm-hmm.
But identity is extremely important when you work with any type of art, and I think we have carved our own identity.
True.
Yeah.
True. That sounds really great. So, Shagrath and Silenoz, one sentence, define the sound of Eonian. What would you say?
Divine.
Victorious.
Lovely. I like it. Man, you guys have never come to India, and I sit here, wait for you guys. It doesn't happen. I end up going to Europe and then see you guys. So it's always been like that. And I'm sure you guys know that your fan base has increased rapidly over the course of last 1 decade. That's how the scene is
Yeah, I know.
exploding in India.
We have gotten quite a lot of offers from India. It's just that it's been either bad timing or it hasn't been able to be done in a logistic way. So, but we look forward to hopefully come and visit India as well.
Yeah, that would be great, man. Guys, good luck with the release.
Thanks a lot, man. That's great to hear.
Take,
We appreciate it.